Afternoon session of your Public Speakers University. Let's just do a quick recap and remind you where we are. We talked, of course, that in the beginning, what we want to do is use our why, our stay and pay positioning. Positioning the subject, positioning time, positioning the audience, and then finally, of course, positioning yourself. We started by positioning the audience with a couple of questions that are easy for the audience to agree to, high probability of agreement. And then we move to the right-hand side of the stage to start creating a hunger piece, where we position the pain, frustrations that the audience may be experiencing right now related to your topic. We'll walk over to our left, audience's right, and position the games they want to be having instead of that. Remember to use the softening frames of perhaps, potentially, possibly, maybes on both sides. Then we bridge this gap with our solution and talk about why our solution is a great solution right now and what are the reasons why our solution it was the right one for them to get them from where they are to where they want to be. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, etc. And then what we've done is we've positioned the audience, because they voted a couple of times, that's what they want. They've agreed I have this pain, they agree that's where they want to go. You've now positioned your subject or your solution as a vehicle to get them there, and you've told them why now is the right opportunity for them to do so. And then the next thing we need to do is, of course, position yourself. Why are you going to be the authority, the expert, the right person to guide them from where they are to the promised land, or whatever it might be? Now, in order to do that, we've got a section coming up right now to help you with that. And I'm going to hand it over to one of my brilliant, amazing international speakers. He's one of my ACE team mentors, a fantastic speaker. I hope one day you can aspire to also be a mentor like him, who likes the idea of not only learn this for yourself, who likes the idea of becoming a mentor and teach other people how to become great speakers too. What if we paid you $2,000 per time to do it? Would that be good? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Very good. So with that, would you please welcome to the stage the one and only, the amazing Vince Dow, please. Let's hear it.
No, I am not Richard Branson or his father. Okay, so let's start off with this. Let me ask in the room, who would say that you've had pain in your life? Raise your hand if you've had pain in your life at some point. Okay, maybe it's something like loss of a job or grief or loss of a puppy or even somebody in your family. But you've had pain not just once, but more than once. Raise your hand if you've actually had pain more than once in your life. And would it be likely that if you've had pain once, twice, a few times in the past, that most likely you're going to probably experience pain again in the future? Would that be a likely statement? So, what I want to share with you is this. If pain's going to be part of our lives, would it be valuable to own a technology, to have an ability or a technology that would actually allow you to transform that pain into something of higher value? Would that be pretty powerful, yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. So what we want to do is make sure that we have this technology, we access this technology. In fact, from the days of antiquity, people have been searching for a technology to turn lead into gold. And that's called alchemy. Who's heard of alchemy? Raise your hand if you've heard of alchemy. Well, that is a powerful technology, but I'm going to tell you something. There's a more powerful technology that is inherent within you. And that's the power to turn something of a lower level into a much higher level energy. In fact, if we look at our lives, the stuff that happens, this grief or this loss or this pain, I like to call that shit. In fact, in America, we have a bumper sticker we put in the back of our car. It says, shit happens. Have you seen that bumper sticker? Raise your hand if you've seen that bumper sticker. And that's true, it does happen. But the power that we have inside of us is so powerful. In fact, you can activate your inner alchemist and you can turn shit into gold. Who likes the sound of that? Raise your hand if you like to turn some shit into gold. You're a billionaire. I get you. And so to explain explain how this happens, I want to take you back in my life. We're going to go back to a few years ago when I was living in Orlando, Florida. Have you ever been to Orlando, Florida? Raise your hand if you've been to Orlando. Well, Orlando, Florida is a great little city. In fact, it's very hot and humid there. I was at my house, and by the way, I had a beautiful house with a swimming pool in the backyard on a golf course community. And this day, the sun was just starting to peek through the clouds. The humidity was very thick. It was really hot. And I made my way to the mailbox. And had you been there with me that day, you would have seen as I pulled the mail out of the box and I sorted the mail, I ran across one envelope. This envelope stood out to me. In fact, I knew what was in this envelope. So I opened it, and there it was, a check made out. It said, "Paid to the order of Vince Dowd in the amount of $72,000. And as I sat there, I couldn't help but to think about how I got here, right now, in this place where I got this check. And I thought back in my life over what brought me here. And as I did that, I thought back to a time, which was a long time ago. It was 1966. Who was alive in 1966? Raise your hand if you were alive. Okay, I wasn't. 1966. Now, I'll take you back to this couple that was married. There was a gentleman. He was about 6 foot tall, wavy hair, good-looking man, piercing blue eyes. He used to think he was a cowboy. He held these Marlboros, and he had a .38 pistol because he was an ex-cop with a mean streak. And he would kind of say and talk like this, and he would hold his gun out and say, "You know what? I misfired." He'd say, "You know what? You drop that glass, I'll put 2 bullet holes in it before it hits the ground." And so he's a cowboy. Now, he was married to a lady, and she was very good looking, 5'4", brown hair, brown eyes, looked very much like Audrey Hepburn. Her name is Sharon, and they were married. They had 2 boys. The first one was Jeff. He is 5 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, rambunctious kid. And his brother, who was older, Lanny. Now, Lanny had blue eyes and darker skin. The difference with Lanny, though, is Lanny never talked much. He used to sit in the corner and build these big Lego towers. The cowboy and Sharon thought he might be autistic because he never said a word. But his brother Jeff and him were best of friends, and they talked all the time. Well, back in the 60s, the cowboy was having trouble getting income. He was having trouble finding a job. And at this point, he was struggling so much, he decided to send Sharon and the boys back to Kansas, a little city called Hutchinson. And he sent them back there to stay with Sharon's parents, because he felt like if they were there, he could get his life together financially and then bring them back. Well, he sent them out there to Hutchinson, Kansas. And on this day, this hot summer day, something happened this day. And had you been there to observe this, it might have very well changed your life as well. In fact, on this hot summer day, the 2 little boys were in the backyard playing as the family was inside. It was such a hot day, in fact, you could feel the heat radiating from the sidewalk, the smell of fresh cut grass in the air. And the little boys were in the backyard playing around like little boys do, with just their shorts on. But it was so hot, and they were in their little fantasy world. And they decided, it's so hot out here, let's find something to do to cool ourselves off. And they ran over to the fence, the neighbor's fence, and they looked through that fence, a big wooden fence, and they noticed on the other side of that fence was a big crystal blue swimming pool. Now, they had been swimming before with the cowboy and Sharon, but never alone. They decided to climb the fence and to jump in that pool and cool themselves off. So they did just that. They climbed that fence, and they got to the edge of the pool, and they would take turns jumping in. One would jump in, splash around and have so much fun, grab onto the edge, and his brother would help him pull himself up out on the ledge. Then the other one would jump in. And they took turns doing this for a few minutes. Until the older one, Lanny, took his little jump and he jumped out way too far. This time, the fun and the laughter changed into screams of help, help me. And that was muted by water that began to fill his mouth. His little brother, Jeff, 5 years old, did not know what to do. In fact, he saw Lanny too far out and he was starting to sink. Jeff didn't know how to swim. He couldn't do anything, so he did what any 5-year-old would do. He ran back screaming to his family, help, help, my brother, my brother. Quicker than you could think. It was heard by their Uncle Dave, a 19-year-old kid. He ran as fast as he could, hurdled that fence, dived in, and he caught Lanny down below the water's surface, grabbed him, put him up on the edge, and began CPR immediately. He did everything he could. But Lanny didn't make it that day. Lanny drowned that day. Just minutes before, there were 2 boys playing, having fun in the water. Now Jeff stood alone. He lost his best friend, his brother. As tears streamed down his cheeks, not understanding what all this meant, it only took moments for Sharon to arrive in great fear and panic of what had just happened. It wasn't long before the news hit the cowboy who was back in Denver. He took the first flight out to Hutchinson. Now, the cowboy, who had a mean streak, now had a white-hot anger. He shook his hand in the face of God and he couldn't believe that this had happened to his family. When he arrived and he met Sharon, how could you, Sharon? How could you let the kids be alone? His anger was immense. But what's worse, he turned to his 5-year-old son, Jeff. Without ever saying a word, but with everything in him, he blamed his 5-year-old son for killing his brother. Jeff never heard the words, but he lived it his entire life. After the funeral, they flew back to Denver. And the cowboy began to medicate himself by drinking every day. From morning till night, began to drink. Sharon drank as well. Somewhere along the way, they decided the best thing to do would be to replace Lanny with another child. They tried and tried, and it happened. Just 2 years later, in 1968, a baby boy was born. Blue eyes, blonde hair. But this time, there was not the same joy that you would have around birth, because there was a wedge built. How could Jeff look at his little new brother and want to get close to him? Because his last brother, not only did he lose him, he was blamed for his dying. How could the cowboy or Sharon want to get close to this new baby when they had so much pain and loss? Plus the dysfunction in their own lives now with the alcoholism and the violence. But this baby was born, nevertheless, this day in 1968, and they named him Vince. So that's when I entered the picture. I wish I could tell you some great things I remember about my life, but I really don't have that many to tell you. I will share a few things that I do remember. I remember every night my dad drunk until about 2 or 3 in the morning screaming at my mother. I remember not being able to get up to go to school. In fact, I flunked kindergarten. Has anybody ever been to kindergarten? Raise your hand if you've been to kindergarten. What do you do in kindergarten? Oh, you do? I don't know. I flunked it. I didn't play very well. You play. Later on, I pulled out the notes and it said that Vince has self-image problems. Vince is slow. This is what my teachers and my parents said. My dad used to say things like, the best thing about you ran down my leg. I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid. But I'm like, you can see why there's self-image issues. I remember one night, my brother was gone, and I was just a little boy, and my dad had my mom cornered in the basement. He had her up against the wall, and she was crying. I heard her screams, and he was just hanging over her, and I was just a little kid. As I came down the stairs, I saw him like a giant on my mom. I did not know what to do. So I grabbed my little bunny rabbit that my mom had gotten me at Easter before. His name was Thumper, black and white bunny rabbit. And I figured I couldn't take the cowboy, but he could. So I threw him on his back. I guess I was thinking of the Monty Python movie, In Search of the Holy Grail, if you see the rabbit. Didn't happen. Instead, the little bunny rabbit, like holding on for dear life on this 45-degree angle, looks back at me kind of like, what the hell am I supposed to do? But it did stop my dad, who turned around and goes, what the hell is this on the back? And it stopped my dad from abusing my mom that night. But it all came to a head one night as my brother and I were sleeping. And I heard the screams like I did every night. I took my little blanket, which I called Binky, I put it over my face to shield the noise, to shield the tears. But then I heard this, and I did not see it. I heard this, I'm going to blow your fucking head off, Sharon. And I heard my mom scream. Within minutes, she was in the bedroom grabbing myself and my brother. She took us to the garage, threw us in our station wagon, an old green station wagon with the wooden side panels, and we drove out into the field on a cold night in the winter in Denver, and we slept in that car that night. I don't know what my mom was thinking that night as she had tears coming down her face, but had she been sitting next to her, you probably would have seen the struggle that she was going through in her mind and the ultimatum that she came back with. The next day she came home and she told the cowboy, you choose your family or alcohol. He chose alcohol. He left. Left my mom with the house, all the bills, and 2 boys. My mom had never worked in her life. She was a housewife in the 60s. She didn't know what to do. The stress mounted, the bills mounted. She went right to work and began to clean the neighbors' homes for them. When she got home from doing that, she would go to work as a bartender, and she'd work till 2 or 3 in the morning. I was raised alone. My brother was gone, being a rebel somewhere in the world. I remember the late nights and hearing sounds and being so afraid because I was alone, by myself. I just wanted somebody to care, somebody to love me. What hurt really bad, though, is over those years, we had no money. I remember every week my mom would reach into the bill basket. She'd pull out one bill, and she would cry like every Friday trying to figure out what bill to pay. It was especially hard at Christmas, because at Christmas time, my mom would tell Jeff and I can't really get you what you want because I can't afford it. And you know, it broke her heart. But what was hardest is at Christmas, in the morning when we came down to open the presents, I unwrapped my present, there it was. Exactly what I wanted. And I knew that came out of the bill money. I knew it was my want of that was going to cause us financial issues. So I lived with this over my years, struggling through school, knowing that we're broke all our lives. All I wanted to do in my life was to make money to fix my problems of my family. In my earlier years of teenage years, I wanted to commit suicide. I was miserable with my life. So many people out there want to do that. Somehow I held on. And at 19 years old, something happened that changed my life. Had you been there that day with me, the impact may have very well turned you 180 degrees. I was invited to a seminar. I almost did not attend, but I figured, what the heck, let's just go. I went to this seminar, it was in St. Louis, Missouri. I went to see a millionaire speak. Now this was the 1980s. Millionaires were not a dime a dozen in the 80s. You know, you didn't have pimply-faced 12-year-old billionaires like you do today, or millionaires all over the internet. This was a big deal to see a millionaire. So I went to this event, and up on stage was Jimmy Evans. This guy looked so rich. His suit was like, it was just like dripping off of him. He had this big Rolex that, like, every time he moved in the light, it was like a light show. His hair was even rich. It was like, I don't even know how he did it. It just looks rich. Wow, he looks rich. But he said something that I just shared a story that really started the impact in my life and started to change me. That was the turning point beginning. And what he shared, I'm going to share with you. He said there was a little boy, a brown-haired boy with big brown eyes, and his dad. They were very close. Well, this little boy came in to play ball with Dad this afternoon, and his dad was very busy, working at home at his big desk. And the dad looked at the son and said, "Son, I'd love to play ball, but I'm really busy. Tell you what I'll do. I will, here." He grabbed a magazine off the corner of his desk, pulled out a page, and there's a picture on this page of the earth. He ripped this picture up into 1,000 little pieces, gave it to his son, and said, "Son, go put the world together. Once you do that, come back in, and then we'll go play ball." Now the father thought, well, this is going to give me enough time to get my work done, maybe an hour or so. So the little boy takes it, runs out to the living room, grabs the scotch tape, sits down, puts this thing together in 10 minutes. Comes back in, "Here, Dad." His dad's like, "Okay, son, how did you do this?" And the little boy said, "Well, Dad, on the other page was a picture of a man. And once I put the man together, the whole world fell into place." Now that was like, it hit me so much because you see, all my life growing up, I was working on fixing the world. If you come from an alcoholic family, you always have to be in control. Who understands what I'm talking about? I had to put my mom in the car because she was drunk. I had to drive home. I had to take care of the bills. I had to do all these things because nobody was sober. So the only way I knew how to fix the world was to fix you. Guess what? You don't want to be fixed. That's what I learned about the world. They don't want me to fix it. But what he said was, if you want the world to change, fix the man, and then the whole world will change. And that was the impact. I went backstage and I got to meet this gentleman. I shook his hand and I said, "My name is Vince Dowd. Can I just tell you briefly about my life?" And he let me talk for a few minutes. And he said, "I want to give you a book to read." And I said, "I'm dyslexic. I don't read. I struggled through school. I've never read a book in my life." He goes, "Can you read?" I said, "Yes, I can read. I can struggle through it. I just can't read books." He said, "Can you read pages?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Good, then just read the pages." So I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, tear out a page every day. Put that page in your back pocket and spend the day as a bull reading that one page. It becomes easy." So I began to do that. I began to read this book. The book he gave me is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Who's ever read that book? Raise your hand. If you have not, write it down. That book changed my life. Now, here's one thing Jim said. Do not read the book. Embody the book. Be the book. Do everything he says. It will change you. Most people just read it. So I began to read this book, and it started to say that I have a white-hot burning desire, that whatever I believe and conceive, I can achieve. Different story than I heard all my life. I heard I was shit. My life was full of all this shit. But he was saying, I can have anything I want. He said also to write down as if you already have it. How much money you want, by what date, make it specified. You see, you can't just write down, I want more money. Why? Because the universe will give you what you ask for. If I say I want more money, I can walk down the street and go, oh look, 20 feet, 20 cents. I got more money. But I didn't do that. I wrote down exactly what it said. Vince, I wrote this down as if it's happening. You are amazing, present tense. Vince, you have $100,000 in your bank account. I had never seen $100,000 in my entire life. Vince, you are sexy. It's so funny. Okay, I was lying to myself. Except for the sexy part, that was real. But no, I said this, and the difference was, as I put it in the mirror, he says, read it to yourself in the morning and at night before you go to bed when your subconscious mind is the most open. And so I get up in the morning out of the shower, stand in front of that mirror, and there it was. Vince, you're amazing, with emotion, out loud. Vince, you got 100,000 in your bank account. Vince, you are sexy. And then you start to embody it. You start to embody it a little bit, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. When you lie to yourself, do you feel it? You feel incongruent. And I started feeling like, yeah, this isn't true. Right? You're saying, no, this isn't true. All the shit's true, which everybody else lied to me about. I believe that because that was many years. This is not true because I don't see it right here, right now. But guess what starts to happen when you keep saying it to yourself over and over and over again? You start to believe it. When I was driving my beat-up car that smelled like milk and French fries, that was fresh leather in a brand new Mercedes. I started to manifest this into my mind. And as I started to do that, my life started to change. First of all, I began to read books that lifted me up. I started to get around balcony people that would raise me up and tell me how great I am, not what a piece of shit I am. I started to get to seminars that would change the way I think, that would inspire me, educate, motivate me. I began to make changes in my life. While they were all saying it's never going to happen, you're too slow, it's never going to happen for you, what started to happen slowly is I started to change my life. And I began to make money. In fact, coming back to this place in Orlando, Florida, I realized that whole past, all that shit, I used it. I transformed it, transmuted it, I transfigured it into $72,000. You see, 2 weeks prior to this check arriving, I was invited to speak in London, England, to 800 people, where I shared my story. I shared my shit. But I turned it in to $72,000 for 8 hours. My question is to you. When shit comes into your life, what are you going to do with it? Wallow in it? Swim around a bit? Or how about transmute, transform, and transfigure it? Because the shit of your life is the fertilizer of your growth. Turn to your neighbor and say, what are you going to do with your shit? Turn to your other neighbor, turn to the other side, and give them a big kiss. Fantastic. Remember one thing, guys. Your life is your message, and your message needs to be heard. Put your hands together if you think that's true. Okay, so now, what did I just do with you? I just positioned myself, absolutely. So I just shared a story with you. And hopefully I positioned myself as an authoritative speaker by showing you how much money you can make when you turn your shit into gold. Right? So every one of you in this room has a story. Not mine, but it's yours. And it should never be mine, it should never be Andy's. It needs to be yours. By the way, you have more than one story. Whether it's struggle, whether it's conflict, or whatever it is, those stories need to be heard because there's people out there waiting to hear them. You can touch lives. You can empower people, impact people. You can change the world by changing you and then sharing with others. So let's get into that. I'll dance when the music hits. How's that sound? Okay, so we've been talking about stay and pay positioning. And we talked about positioning the audience. Again, positioning the audience, making sure they're on your side, that you're relating to the audience. The second thing he did is he talked about positioning the subject. Okay, so the subject that you're there to deliver. Then we talked about time. Why now is important. Why now is a must for you to learn this topic. Why it's been used in the past, why it's so critical in the future, but why now? Why do we need to do this now? And then the fourth part is going to be yourself. Positioning yourself. Because this is your expert positioning story. This is where you're going to relate to the audience. We're going to teach you how to do that with your story, which is very, very important. So where does this fit into the puzzle? Well, we have the great presentation skills. We'll be covering all this in this 3 days. Structuring your talk, engaging your audience, and then getting paid to speak. So where does this piece fit in? It fits in where it's stay and pay positioning, but it fits in basically right here at the Tri-Summit Storytelling System. So the Tri-Summit Storytelling System is the system you're going to use, and it's developed kind of like Hollywood movies. Who's ever been to a movie? Raise your hand if you've been to a movie. Who's been to movies where you're really engaged? You're like, you're there. You're like in the movie now. In fact, have you ever gone to a movie when you have a problem, and you get so engaged in the movie you totally forget you have the problem until the movie's over? Raise your hand if you've done that. So obviously, when you're present in the movie, there's no problems. But if you've been to a movie where you go and you're like, oh, this thing is going to end, but you don't want to get up and leave because they kind of got you, but you think it's so boring and it's predictable. Have you ever been to one of those movies? Yeah. So we want to not be the latter. We want to be the first one. A movie that engages the audience. A story that you're going to tell that engages your audience. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring stay and pay positioning with Tri-Summit storytelling, and we're going to put those together to position you as the expert. Now, a lot of speakers go out and they just tell stories. They just start a story and they're very, very bored. We don't want to do that. We want to first of all analyze in our lives where these stories come from. So it does take a little bit of work to create and craft your story. But when you do it well, guess what? You have it in your bag of tools, and you can pull it out anytime you want to. Andy likes to say this: you should always be ready to speak, not getting ready to speak. What happens if you're called up on stage right now? Are you ready? Could you say, that's good. How would you like to be ready every time? If you're called up to do a toast, you're called up at a wedding, you're called up on a stage, you're ready to speak anytime, anywhere. Raise your hand if that's where you want to be. Absolutely. So if you do that, you're always going to be prepared. So how do you get this information? Where does it come from?
Just so you know, this is not in their workbooks because they're trying to find it. We added it to there.
Yeah, this is not your workbooks. So, watch me. I'll make magic for you. The first you see here is the C. So you see the C's on the left side and the B's on the right side. The first thing you want to access in your life is any crisis you've had. Any crisis you've had. I've had many. I'm an expert in crises management. So you have crisis that you can pull from. Now, gone are the days of speakers up here trying to tell you how great they are. See, when I started speaking, they used to just come and say, hey, I got a big house, I got a Rolex, I got a lot of nice cars, everything about me is amazing, you shouldn't want to be like me. Who's been to a seminar like that and just bragging the whole time about how great they are? Raise your hand if you've been to a seminar like that. Now, is that exciting? You're like, because do you really care? If it's not your car, you really don't care. If it's not your house, do you really care? No. It's like good to know that you have something. But really, it's about you, the audience. We want to be audience focused. So what you need to do is create the similarity with your audience, not being special. If I'm special up here, there's a buffer between us. There's a gap. You don't feel like you can be me because I'm special. Now, by sharing my crises, do you start to feel like, wait a second, he's had some screwed up life. I haven't had it that bad, or maybe I relate to that. So if he can do it, I can do it. Who in the room felt like, well, heck, he's kind of had some things going on, maybe I can do this? Absolutely. See, the thing is, when you do that, you're accessing the audience as similar to you. The second C is challenges. What challenges have you had that you've overcome? People want to pay you for your information because you have a problem that was solved. I kind of look at it this way. The great divine, believe in God or not, whatever, the great divine has put problems in your life for you to solve them so that you can help others. And by the way, those problems could be called shit, but that shit can be transformed into gold, into empowering others, changing others, helping the planet, whatever it is, your story. So don't ever, you got to reframe and realize that the crisis and the challenges are merely seeds of opportunity in your life to allow you to take that message out to the world. Conflict. Isn't there always a conflict going on somewhere? Maybe it's between parents and kids, between corporations. But the greatest conflict overall is the conflict within ourselves, isn't it? Isn't it always us that has a conflict? Should I do it or should I not? Should I take the risk or should I not? It's always within us that this conflict exists. We want to share those. That's where we're going to pull our stories from. So as you think back in your life, you start to write down these crises that you face, the challenges and the conflicts. Beyond that, you have the B's. The first one is battles. What battles have you faced? How did you overcome? How did you win in the battle? You're really going from the zero to hero story, aren't you? Isn't that what every movie is? Will he get the girl or will he not? Will he save the planet or will he not? There's always this battle going on, what's really an internal battle in each of us. Breakthrough. What breakthrough did you overcome? How did you break out of something? And the final one is beliefs. What belief shift did you have? By the way, what you believe, you act on. And what you act on creates results. And then when those results happen in your life, doesn't that reinforce the belief? So you have a thought, a belief, and it reinforces. Yes or no?
Yes.
And that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're looking at the belief changes. And by the way, can the story change the belief? Can a movie or a story change your belief? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who has been in the room where you've seen maybe it's a great story like the one I just shared with Jim Evans, or you actually have been to a movie and you thought it through and it changed your beliefs? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. So what we want to do is we want to use those beliefs and access our beliefs and start to build stories around them. Because what you're doing as a speaker is you're instilling beliefs into your audience, aren't you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, you're instilling a new belief. And is it easier to do that through a story than by you just telling somebody to believe a certain way?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we want to do. We want to instill these beliefs via stories. So this is your material, your ammunition to be able to craft these stories. So we're going to get into the Tri-Summit Storytelling System, which is on page, who can help me out? 23. You can see there's 3 mountains here, or 3 peaks, and we're going to get into these 3 peaks. If you've ever been to a seminar and you see speakers speak, most speakers actually share their stories the same way, using a technology that's called boring as hell. They just start telling the story. And instead of doing that, what we want to do is we want to be able to create a similarity with our audience. We want to see if this is relevant to them or not. So how did I do that when I came up here? How did I access similarity? Absolutely. I asked you questions. I said, who has ever experienced pain in the room? Raise your hand. And what happened? You all raised your hand. So now you're accessing that file in your brain, aren't you? You're going back in your life and you're thinking, oh, pain, I've had that. You go back, you pull that file out, and you say, oh, here was a painful time. I lost my job, or I lost my puppy, or I went bankrupt, or somebody passed away. You access it. Now, what's starting to happen is we're building a similarity, a rapport. Because I've experienced pain too, and you have. So now we can talk about the story because we're at the same place. So I access that information. And what that's called is searching for similarities. Searching for similarities. So you want to ask a few questions to get your audience relating to you and building that rapport, to see if you're in the same place. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to move into an area that's really, really important. Now, a lot of speakers don't do this well. Who owns a television set? Raise your hand. Is it black and white? Who has a black and white TV? Right? Nobody? You still got it, okay. So there's one that still has the black and white. Who has a color television? Raise your hand. Okay. Who has the high definition color television? Raise your hand. Okay, look around. Keep your hands up, guys. Look around. Now, who has the 3D TV? Raise your hand if you have the 3D. Wow, there's still a lot of people with surround sound. So why do you have now 3D high-def surround sound TVs? Why? Come on, why? Because you want to be in the picture. Now, do you feel like who's ever watched a black and white TV? Do you feel like you're in the movie? Are you there? Or is it kind of like narrating to you? It's really boring. But who sat down with the speakers around you in front of a big screen, 3D, high-def TV, and felt like you're in the picture? Raise your hand if you've done that. Even if you're at the store doing it. Because you want to be transported out of this place here now and put somewhere else for a brief moment in time. And that's what great speakers do. What you want to do is not just come out and narrate your story. You want to take the audience who you just related to by searching for similarities, and you want to place them into the scene. Because remember, as a speaker, I'm up here sharing with you memories of my life, correct? Can you see them? Can you see them? Yes. Only if I share them with you, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
You only see them if I paint the picture with you. Yeah. So what I want to do is paint that picture with you and make sure you understand where I was. But by putting you there, you're there with me. Would you agree if it's in the past, it's boring? But if you're living it right now, it's more exciting, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Give me a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create what we call the scene. The scene. And creating the scene, I'll give you an example. When I took you back, well, let's do it this way. Let's say I was going to tell the story like this. I was driving my car down the road. And it was a winter day, and I was hit in the backside, and I went careening off the road into the median. That's a black and white story. Did you even make a picture of a car? Who made a picture? Raise your hand if you made a picture of a car. A few people. Who did not make a picture? Raise your hand if you didn't even bother. Because it's like a car. What is that? I don't know. So what if we did it this way? Had you been with me on January 23rd of 2003, you would have been sat beside me in my red Nissan Altima with the gray leather seats. In fact, on this day, you probably would have been gripping that leather seat, and you would have heard the sound of the muffler shaking and the fumes of the exhaust kind of coming through the vents. And as we drove down 104th Avenue, the snow was wild and there was an ice patch. And on this day, had you been there, you would have experienced something that would have changed your life as well. Is that very different than the first one?
Yes.
Because what are you thinking right now? Yeah, how did my life change? Did you feel like you were in the car?
Yes.
Now, who pictured a maroon Altima? Raise your hand if you pictured the car and the red and the gray interior. Who put yourself in the picture? Raise your hand if you put yourself in the picture. Absolutely. So what you're doing now is you're actually in the vehicle and you're with me. It becomes more exciting. And that's creating the scene. So we're searching for similarities. We create the scene. I did it over here with the fence. Okay, first thing I did is I created the mailbox. We went to the mailbox. I pulled mail out. I said, had you been with me? I was going through the envelopes, and I found one that stood out. So you're kind of there with me looking at this, instead of out there looking at me doing it. Then later I said, the boys were in the backyard, Had you been there, you would have seen something that would have changed your life that day as well. And they ran to the fence and they looked through and they see the pool. So we're creating that picture so that you can experience it by being there as well. Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. So search scene, and then the next one. The next one is really important because what we do is we want to hook them. If you don't hook your audience in the first 30 seconds, your story's probably going to be shat because they're going to get bored. Who's seen the movie where you actually hook the audience right away? For example, maybe the movie was Inception. Who's seen Inception? Raise your hand. So they hook you right away. Or last night I watched Impossible about the Thailand tsunami. Who's seen Impossible? Raise your hand. So right away they hook you by seeing the shaking and the waves come, and then it's a journey of finding each other. So you've got to hook your audience right away. And that's an emotional hook. How do you hook your audience? Well, you've got to put them in the scene. So you'll say something like, had you been with me, you would have experienced something that changed your life as well. Or had you been sitting beside me, you would have experienced something that would have radically impacted your life. Something to the point where you're going to get them next to you in the scene, and now you hook them. Because the question becomes, what is it that's going to change? What is it? And if the audience is asking the questions, they're uncertain, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you're asking questions during a movie, are you intensely watching for the answer?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens, you're sitting there watching what's going to happen next. Well, even the thrillers, the horror movies, you're really intense because you know that the music starts to pick up and she opens the cabinet, right? And you're thinking, oh, here it comes. And the music builds, and nothing. And so she turns around, right? And they're like, oh man, you're in. Who's experienced that? Yeah, because you're thinking, I know it's coming right here. We're going to open this, and there's going to be the monster. And then you get that first scare, that first hook, and then finally when you relax, you're like, and then there it is. Make sense?
Yes.
So what we want to do is hook them immediately within the first 30 seconds. Otherwise, you're in this story and you're like, oh, where's it going? It's so predictable. I'm bored. I'm going to go I'm going to go to the restroom. I'll come back later. Have you ever done that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't want to do that. We want to create that scene and make it very visual, describing. Okay? And what we want to do is what we call save the scene. Save the scene. So save, S stands for smells. Smells. You want to describe the smell? I said in the backyard, you could smell the fresh cut grass. Who experienced smelling that fresh cut grass when I said that? Who had an experience where you're like, I remember that what it smells like? So now you're kind of there, aren't you? You're smelling it. And I said also, you can feel the heat radiating off the sidewalk. Who's ever experienced that kind of hot sidewalk where you just feel like, it's hot? So you're there now. So we're creating the smells. Then we're going to go into the A, which is auditory. So in the car, I talked about the rattling exhaust pipe. You can hear it rattling. With my dad, what I did is I used his voice, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. Okay? The sounds, it could be even talking to yourself. I had a conversation with myself, and I said this. So you want to take them into that scene by using the actual smells, the auditory, and now it's visual. You want to describe it. I described the pool as being crystal blue and the fence. I described the car on that second story as being a maroon Nissan Altima with gray leather seats. So you're starting to see it, and I'm helping you to build the picture. You just have to hint a little bit. You don't have to go into detail like it was a red Altima, had really nice gold handles, and then the tires, they had this real, you don't have to go that deep. Just a little bit to hint. They'll create the rest of the picture themselves. But help them out a little bit so they're not so black and white. You with me, yes or no?
Yes.
So that's SAB, and then E is the emotional hook. Again, you got to get that hook in there. to grab them. Why should I continue listening to this story? They have to have uncertainty. What's going to happen? So when I talked about the check, who was interested to figure out why I got a $72,000 check? Raise your hand if you were interested. Okay. So then I took you back in my life, and it had nothing to do with the check, did it? So are you still wondering, well, wait a second, now he's back here. What about the check? And then I go through what's going on back here with before I was born, when I was born, and then all the jump that happened along the way, and then eventually it leads back to the check. By turning all this crap into something that I could share and empower others, I got paid and transmuted the shit to gold. Right? So that's what we did. We actually took you through the scene, one scene at the mailbox, another scene before I was born, what happened, another scene when I was born, another scene through my life, and then this scene where I met the millionaire, my life changed, and I'm back at the mailbox later. Remember. So now it's taking you on this journey of figuring out what's going on with my story. Who was into my story? Raise your hand if you're into the story. Good. So that's the scene. So when you get that emotional hook in there, what's going to happen is you're going to hit the state. What we want to have is a state change in our audience. Now, who actually changed your state? When I was over here talking about Lanny dying, who actually felt that because you've experienced in your life a loss or a pain or a grief in your own life? Raise your hand if you felt a deeper heaviness from loss in your life. Yeah, because we're human beings, we connect. We connect, and so it's so important that we take them on this journey of state. So the state change, and I get you into the state that I want you in, it's going to be relevant to the story. My questions were, who's experienced pain before? Who's experienced grief or loss? So I'm having you access that file. So you can now start to bring that file out for this later when I get to the point of understanding this heaviness. And then later, I add a little bit of humor in it to lighten the load a little bit so not everybody's heavy the whole way through. And I talked about the bunny rabbit, right? And then we went on from there. So we want to take you through a state roller coaster ride. Now your audience is going to be engaged in the story. Okay, from state, we're going to move to a really, really important part, which is actually called stars. The stars of your story. Usually it's just the speaker or whomever. They're like, it's all about me. That's not a very good movie. That's not a very good story because it gets boring. So you need to have some more stars in your story. So I talked about stars. Who was my stars over here? My brother, Jeff, my brother Lanny, who passed away. Who was the adult man? The cowboy. The cowboy. Did you know his name? No. But can you see him? When I describe him, I start talking like this. Do you have a picture? Yeah, you have it in your own mind what he looked like, because I kind of described him. Piercing blue eyes, wavy hair, good looking, had a Marlboro cigarette and a gun. Okay, so now but then the lady was 5'4", brown hair. She looked like Audrey Hepburn. So you kind of have a visualization of her. So I described those two. And then Jim Evans, the millionaire, how did I describe him? Suit was dripping with wealth, big Rolex. His hair was rich. You don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what that means. It just looks rich. Found out later it was a fake. It was a rug. So anyway, you describe those stars. And what you want to do is make sure your audience is there with you, seeing these people. They're right in the movie. It's 3D, Technicolor. You're there. Okay? So that's what you want to do with the stars. Now the stars should be, and this is important that you do, they should be seen. So again, you're describing these stars. Again, it doesn't have to be full out. I just simply said my dad, or I didn't say it was my dad at the time, but I said the cowboy had piercing blue eyes. So now you got a picture in your own mind from somebody that you know that has piercing blue eyes. And the wavy hair, 6 foot tall. So you create that picture by me helping you by explaining what he or she or the scene looks like. Next is really important because it brings them to life, and that's called shaping. You need to shape the character a little bit. So I said the cowboy had a mean streak. And then what I did is I changed my voice just a little bit and said he'd talk like this. And he's always like, yeah. I mean, it's just enough. That's kind of a bit aggressive, but that's kind of how he was. So you just changed a little bit. It doesn't mean like if I'm talking about a woman, I don't have to go up here like this and say, hey! You don't have to do it like that. It's just a little shift. So I might say, and she was a lady, and she said to me, hello, dear. Or like an older lady, hello. And you might hunch over a little, hello, dear. I just would like to, just a little bit. Okay? So what you're doing is you're shaping the character. You're letting it be seen. Talk about a little bit of history. So my dad had a mean streak. He was an ex-cop. He used to sleep with a 38 under his pillow. So they kind of get a feel for who this character is and kind of what's going on with this character. And maybe they don't need to know everything about it. You with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So you just leave those little insights for them to say, wow, I can see this person, I can see how they are, and then next time I talk about the cowboy, do you automatically get the same picture in your hand? Yes. Okay, good. Everybody stand up. You look like you're getting tired. Stand up and let's do a massage on your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and do a back massage. Turn to your right. Turn to your right so you're not going to the front. Now the back, lower back, go to the back. Now the buttocks. Just kidding. Turn, shoulders. Now the lower back. Okay, good. Everybody have a seat. Good little blood run. Okay, so we've seen and we've shaped our character. Now what we want to do is add, again, the speech. The speech. So again, like with old little lady, you can just, you might want to bend over a little bit. She might move with a little cane or something. Hello, dear. Something like that. Is that more exciting than saying a little old lady and she said, hello, dear? Yes. You're like, really? That's like narration. Now, narration will come into your story throughout the story. It's important to have it. You don't want the whole story being, oh, he said this, oh, well, I said this. Then it looks like you're in a one-man play or a one-woman play. Right? So you want to make sure you're narrating and then mix it up with a little bit of speech. That's really important to do. So now what you've done is you've found the common ground. You've created a scene very visually for your audience. You've created a state, a hook that pulls them in because now they want to know what's going to happen. Because you place them where? Where have you placed them, guys? In the scene. They're there. Now they're ready to see what's going to happen. The stars are being seen, shaped, and the speech is there. So now this is developing. The next part is really important because if you do all this right, it won't even matter without getting the next component. If you don't do this next part right, the story is going to be boring. It's not going to have any point or relevance to the audience. And that's called the struggle. Every struggle is the key. So you start off with the struggle. Remember, it's a zero to hero story. It's a woe to win story. Why are you on the stage delivering to your audience? Because you started over here with nothing like them maybe, and now you're up here, but you had to go over these struggles. And because you've been there, you can reach your hand out and help them get there. Make sense? Yeah. If there's no struggle, then it's kind of, well, what's the point? You just ended up at the top of the mountain. So you want to make sure that you're developing the struggle. And there's oftentimes more than one struggle. In fact, in every movie, isn't there a struggle? Think of Titanic. Titanic, right? What's the first struggle in that movie? Oops. What's the first struggle, guys? Wasn't it? Totally broke this. Okay, so the first struggle in the movie is the classes, isn't it?
Yes.
The class, the lower class and the upper class, they shouldn't be together. There's a disdain between the classes. Right? That's the first struggle. Then the next struggle was what? You had Jack and you had Rose. Now Rose was going to kill herself, right? Because she is forced to marry this guy that she didn't want to marry. And Jack stopped her. So there was a struggle. She didn't want to do it. And then she started to get close to Jack. So there's a struggle because they don't want their daughter to get close to Jack. And so they're going through these struggles, building and building and building. And then the big struggle is what? The ship hits a iceberg. It doesn't just sink in 3 minutes, does it? I mean, would that be boring? Okay, done. Movie's over. What you want to do is see what's happening. And what happens as it starts to sink, everybody aboard has a struggle they're going through. I remember the guys on the ship that were playing the violins. They're like, this is our last song. Let's at least make it good for everybody. And they're going down. Right? And then, the captain goes to the front of the ship and goes, I'm going down with the ship. He was struggling. I should do it. It's my fault. And so these struggles continue to build and build until the end, where you have Rose and Jack in the water. She just wants a few moments with her loved one. It's better than living the rest of her life, so she jumps in and she's staying with him on the log. And this struggle builds and builds until finally Rose is brought back in the ship and Jack dies. And that's the story. Okay. Well, I know. There's more to the story. And so with mine on the struggle, I went through the struggle first over here with coming into the life of this struggling family. Then I struggled with finances and with the self-image, and I continued to do so all the way over flunked kindergarten. I know it's still funny, I don't know how you do it. So I flunked kindergarten, and then I continued struggling self-image, wanted to commit suicide in my teens. Somehow I made it through, but what really changed my life is at 19 years old, I was invited to a seminar, and this millionaire, with his message, changed my life by reaching out to me. Then I began to take different steps in my life, which allowed me to speak, and it brought me back here to this point in my life. So we want to develop that struggle and make sure that we have several little ones as we build up to the main struggle that we overcome. Everybody with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. So then, once we've gone through the struggle, we're moving our way up to the point called the summit. Now, this is the point where you have this revelation. Something changes. All of a sudden, all the struggle has been worth it because at this point, you get that new revelation. And in my example, that revelation came from a millionaire by the name of Jim Evans. And his story to me started the change. Then he gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich. And it's almost as if Napoleon Hill began to whisper to me. So it wasn't me that just had this revelation that, the world works a certain way and I'm going to do this or that. I had actually a guru moment, didn't I? But it came from a gentleman. It came from a book from Napoleon Hill. And maybe in your story, you don't have somebody and it just was an experience that you had where you got kicked in the face enough and you finally figured out to change and you started to do different things and now you're winning. But it's always better if you can use in your story somebody else. And if you don't have somebody, it could be a statue. Like I turned and the statue on the wall, it was almost like my father was whispering to me to change your direction. Or through the pages of the book, I could hear Napoleon Hill calling my name, telling me that I can do better, I can have more. So if you put that on, especially like, what's your name? What is it? Marikai? Marikai. So how old are you? 13. So if Marikai is going to be speaking to an audience, and he gives the insight, it might be hard if you're talking to an audience of adults for them to listen to you because you're saying, how old are you, 13? 13-year-old, they might say, well, you're 13, what do you know? But if you did the story where your father or your grandfather said something to you and imparted this wisdom, now everybody in the audience is listening to your grandfather talk. And now they go, wow, that was powerful. Do you understand? So you want to use somebody else, or a guru, or even the wind. As the wind blew across my ears, it's like the voices of my ancestors said something. And that's a little poetic license that you get as you do it, because it sounds so much more powerful than I had this great revelation and I just decided to do this differently. It's so much more powerful. But it is true, my story is true. It's exactly what happened with Napoleon Hill and the whole thing. So that's where we're going to get to that summit. Now, this doesn't mean anything's changed yet. All this means is you have new information that was imparted to you by a guru or by your father or by something that's had that turning point. And now, what you're going to do is you're going to implement the information. So to implement the information, we're going to move to the solution. And by the way, these all start with S's on purpose. Andy spent a lot of time with the thesaurus working on it to make sure it was very memorable for you. Lots of S's. You'll learn about that more later. So the solution now, it could happen right after you got the information. Or it could happen like me. It didn't happen the next day that I became successful. What happened was I began to read books. I began to go to seminars. Here's the steps I took. I began to get around people that lifted me up, people that made money, that believed in me, not people that dragged me down. How long did it take? Well, it took some time. It wasn't overnight. But then it all changed. So you don't have to start and go chronologically either. In fact, where did I start? Did I start at the beginning in 1966? Yes or no, guys? No, I didn't. I started where? Just about a couple of years ago. Right here I started. Then I ended that scene and took you way back. And then I went through this whole experience past that scene. And then I came right back to that scene. Yes, question?
Well, it's a comment really. I think the cleverest device was, however, you posed the question about who was alive at that point, because you threw me off the story. I thought it was a predictable story and you threw me off at that point when you said, well, I wasn't. So it wasn't until the very end then that the connection was made back to you. It was very clever.
How many people, actually, who was thinking, where are you in the story? Who was thinking that? Like, your name's not Jeff and your name's not Landy, so where are you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can do that again. I sat down to think of the story because I had never told this story until about 3 weeks ago, I believe. And I sat down going through Andy's system and I actually put it together so that I could tell it in a way that kept you involved in it. So you want to do that with your stories. And that way you'll have a bag of these and they'll be very, very powerful. Okay? We'll talk more about it throughout the next couple days. But that's the solution is I did all these things, I learned to speak, I shared my stories, my shit, okay? And then what happened was I got paid very well for that. So here I was, my solution. So that is important to show that, and you can jump around, feel free, like the movies do. And then finally, what happens? I do the end, which is called the takeaway or the seed. What's the seed you're going to leave them with? So I had a seed, and I stepped out of my C space, or my S space, into my C space, and I said, the shit in your life is the fertilizer of your growth. So if I could take that whole story and sum it up, that would be the takeaway. So when you walk away, instead of having to remember the whole story, the whole point, the belief that I'm imparting in you is this, that you're going to have shit in your life. That's normal. That's life. But the shit can be fertilizer. You can use healthy, successful, inspirational, or you can wallow in it. So the takeaway you leave with is so the point is, next time you have shit come into your life, I want you to think, what is this? I'm going to use this as fertilizer so that if I have a lot of shit in my life, I know there's a lot of growth coming. Right? Is that a different way to frame what's going on in your life? Yes. If you lose your business, if you have a foreclosure, if you have something happening in your life, I want your takeaway to be, wow, it's getting heavy with shit. So I got some heavy growth coming because I think some good things are coming down the aisle. That's the takeaway. It's reframing what happens to you. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And by the way, it's just an event in life anyway. We're the ones who put meaning on everything. Who says it's bad? You say it's bad compared to what? Who's ever had something that you thought was really great happen in your life turned out to, at the end, not be so great? Raise your hand if you've been there. Who's ever had something happen in your life where you didn't think was good at the time, but later, what happened because of that, your life has changed? Raise your hand. So what you're saying is, success isn't always your friend, and failure is not always your enemy. There's a takeaway. You with me? That's a seed. Because then you have to think about it differently and say, wow, when I joined the Air Force, I thought that was bad because I didn't like it. But because of that, I was invited to this seminar that I met this guy who changed my life. That was bad. That turned amazing to me. Okay? So we got to remember that that seed is what you're going to leave them with when they leave that seminar. And if you want to impact people, empower people, you need to have very strong, catchy takeaways. It can't just be a long sentence that nobody remembers. So you want to try to keep it concise and encapsulate. And if you don't like the word shit, turn it into crap. So you say, okay, the crap of my life is the fertilizer of my growth. Make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
That is the magic that you have in the tri-step storytelling system. So let's go through it. We search, come to the stage. I asked a couple questions. Who's ever had pain? Raise your hand. Okay, who's ever had more than once? Raise your hand. And is it likely you'll have pain in the future? So now we've gone to a place where we now understand that we all are kind of relating. We've all had pain. I've accessed that file in your life. You pulled it out. It's there open. I built the scene. Come back with me to Orlando, and I take you to the mailbox. I open it. I have a check. Okay. Had you been with me, you would have seen me fumbling through those envelopes to this check. So I put you where? In the scene. You're in my scene now with me. Look at the check. Then I think back in my life. How did I get here? We go way back here. Now on this day, and on the day when they were swimming, had you been here, you would have had something happen that impacted your life. Because I wasn't there either, was I? So I had to put you there because I had to know there myself. I wasn't there. So then I explain what happened as I know it. Okay? And then we come to my scene, where I'm born. So I'm creating all these little scenes along the way. I get the state. Your state was a low state. Okay? A heavy state of compassion and of feeling loss. I want to get you there so that I can deliver that same information in the state that we want you in. I created the stars, which was not just me. First I created my dad, my mom, my brothers. And then I brought me into the picture, just a little bit. So as I created the stars, you heard them speak, at least the cowboy. I shaped their character, the mean streak, the gun, the ex-cop. And then I did the speech, talking like this. So I've done that, so now you have this feeling for this star. I talked about the struggles. The first struggle of being born into that kind of family. Second struggle, my dad's abuse from the time I was a little kid, flunking kindergarten. How am I going to make it being broke? Struggling with my self-image, wanting to commit suicide. So there was multiple struggles there, wasn't there? But then at the end, at 19 years old, I had a revelation that was given to me at the summit by Jim Evans. But his name wasn't as important as the fact that the message was. Because his message impacted me, and that's where everything changed. That's where I said to myself, to change the world, all I need to do is change who? the man, changed me. Then the world changes. Then the book. So I started to do this. It led me down the road to begin to educate myself, to inspire myself, to get more information, to invest in myself. I spent $200,000 on myself over all this time. Keep going to seminars, investing, learning. This is what I did, because this is the greatest investment on the planet. This, the human being. And that caused